Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. We're your host, Grant Cohn, Sibilabak Zaza. Big week. Niners are playing the Seahawks, and although the Seahawks are freaking terrible this season, 3-8, the Niners have only won in Seattle once since 2011. The Seahawks, in particular, Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll sort of have the Niners number the way that the Niners have Sean McVay's. So this is a highly intriguing game. Let's jump right into it. Actually, first we have a question from the audience. Let's
Sure.
it. Is the RG3 tell-all book going to be troublesome for Shanahan? I guess we'll find out.
What do they mean by RG3 tell-all book? As in just the idea of mobile quarterbacks?
No, the idea of RG3 like airing out laundry from his years in Washington.
Oh, I don't think so. Shanahan, he has the kind of ego that he seems to be able to ignore things for the most part.
Yeah, if Shanahan had done something bad, probably would have leaked by now.
I don't think. To be honest with you, I think it would make RG3 look more like he's complaining about his glory that he never got.
True, make him look bad. All right, let's talk about this game. This is going to be all about the upcoming game. Deebo Samuel's not going to play. Someone's going to have to step up. And in the wide receiver room, I'm guessing it's going to be the second-year guy, Jawan Jennings. He's a slot guy, but so he may not replace Deebo like one for one in the formations. But in terms of targets, he got a few in this last game. I think he's going to get more. He seems like he's earning Kyle Shanahan's trust. He seems like he does a lot of the stuff that, Ross Dwelly and Kendrick Bourne did for this. The contested catch guy. What do you see from Jawan Jennings, and is he worthy of an increased role in this offense?
Jawan Jennings was used exactly how everyone agreed he should be used back when we drafted him. He's big, he's physical, he's a dog of a player, he has the dog mentality. He's not an athlete, but he is a football player. That's what it comes down to. He's not particularly athletic, he's not fast, but he has great hands. I think he demonstrated that in that game. Even though it was out of bounds, his ability to go up and snag that ball and reel it in and maintain control while colliding with the ground, Jawan Jennings was used exactly how they should use him, for high contact, contested situations. He's able to run routes decently well. I feel like he knows how to use his body to box out defenders. To me, he kind of lumbers his routes, but he's crisp with them. But he lumbers like a tight end. And I think that's really, he's a big body slot kind of guy. He's
Right.
never going to be on the perimeter unless they get some kind of weird mismatch there. But really, you want someone like him using his height, boxing people out. He's also difficult to tackle. So over the middle, he's a guy who can take a thump. I also feel he is expendable. And when I say that, he's not the guy you have to protect. We have enough options around that he's not the one we have to protect. So he can get the dirty work done. So I do think he's worthy of more targets. I think Trent Sherfield is as well. And I think with that third down conversion, he also showed that he would be a decent option with perhaps more speed and more downfield capabilities.
I think Jennings is a good fit for Garoppolo in the sense that tall guy, long arms, big catch radius, specialized at making contested catches over the middle. I mean, Jimmy throws most of his passes over the middle, and when he misses, he tends to miss high. So that's a nice compliment.
That was on full display in that game, especially in the first half. That was a miserable start for him.
Right.
That was bad, Jimmy. It definitely was.
Yeah, it was bad, Jimmy, but it was good Jawan Jennings through most of that game. I like him. It seems like now that Kendrick Bourne is flourishing in New England and maybe looking like someone who was even a bargain for them, someone the Niners probably should have kept, it's given Kyle a little bit of a reason to get the replacement involved. And the replacement is Jawan Jennings. They use him pretty much the exact way they used Bourne in the past. I don't think he's as good as Bourne was, but he's different. He's bigger. And the way he runs after the catch is Bourne can't do it. He's really tough to bring down. Kind of like,
yes, he is.
Yeah.
And there's you can't underestimate the value of a hard runner, especially when you have someone like Mitchell running the ground game now. He's a really smash mouth kind of running back. Just having that physicality at receiver, which Deebo does bring. He does bring it. Ayuk even brings that as well. He's hard to bring down. But if you have three receivers like this, and Jawan Jennings is kind of a bulldog of a receiver, I think the physicality of the 49ers offense is starting to reflect Kittle.
Yeah, absolutely. It
always complementary pieces.
Yeah, Deebo Samuel took on the Kittle persona. Jennings too. I think it's what Kyle Shanahan wants. Absolutely. He wants people who are ferocious after the catch, and that's. I mean, I guess if you have a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo who doesn't throw deep, then you need as many guys who are going to fight through tackles as possible, and that's what Jennings does. So
But I think with the absence of Deebo Samuel, I think they have to get more touches to Sherfield as well, because Jawan Jennings is still not going to replace all the downfield threat capabilities, and Ayuk should not have to assume that responsibility 100% of the time, or they will just blanket him. They will zone him out.
But
So
Sibla.
to unleash Ayuk, Sherfield is the only player I see on this team being complementary to him without Samuel being out there.
But Sibla, Jimmy's not going to throw down the field. I was thinking about this today. Like, where's the explosive element going to come from in this offense without Deebo? You know, it's got to be use check. You know, when they go to those like deep throws to use check from that's kind of that's it with Jimmy Garoppolo quarterback. That's it. So
for me, a deep pass on the 49ers is 15 yards. To me,
I know.
That really is a deep pass. When I say deep for the 49ers, that's definitely what I mean.
That throw that he had to use check in the fourth quarter up the seam, that was
a thing of beauty.
So we're gonna that's pretty much the extent of what we're gonna see. That's why I think Jennings is gonna be important, because Jimmy ain't throwing deep. Like, Trent, just clear out. Just keep
and Jawan Jennings also seems pretty disciplined in the run game as well. So he seems like he understands his assignments. He does not seem like he shies away from contact or blocking. Something he has to improve, but I feel like he has the tools.
Drunk Leprechaun says, do you think with all the runs Mitchell is getting, his body can hold up and not get injured? I mean,
time will tell. We don't know how durable he is, but I mean, he had the broken finger. But remember, I said that was really just like, that's a fluke. All you have to do is snag somebody as you're going by. So that one didn't faze me. So let's watch his knees, his back, shoulders, things like that. If we start seeing things like this, that will be your answer. But I don't think we should risk it. It
seems like a lot. I mean, 27 carries in his last 2 games. I mean, I guess
but this is why Deebo Samuel is injured, because it's you're pounding the same player with the same play over and over and over. And even though Mac whiffed miserably on the block, the center, he knew it immediately. You could see Alex Mack. He just put his hands up like, damn, he knew what he did. But if you keep pounding the same guy over and over, it doesn't matter if you're Terminator. Eventually, you're going to break down. So they still have to give people,
especially if you're a running
Jeff
back.
Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, he's a running back. He weighs 200 pounds. Like, I mean, what do you think's going to happen? He's great, but yeah, you got to be careful here.
If
they had him in a timeshare in college.
This guy is the minivan. Like, there's a limit to how much I think we should pound him up the middle.
Anthony Adams says, tell Sibla her and Jackhammer beefing on my Twitter today had to be the funniest thing ever. I love how alive Niner fans are when we're winning. I didn't see the beef, but I'm sure it was entertaining.
Well, it was more like Pee Wee Herman versus Jean-Claude Van Damme. You didn't miss anything.
Hey, I'd take Pee Wee in that fight, dude. Pee Wee has tricks. Have you seen the beginning of Pee Wee? He has that whole house where they make breakfast for him in the house. I don't know how Pee Wee did that.
With Jean-Claude Van Damme's espionage capabilities, I'm taking Jean-Claude.
The thing about Jean-Claude, and I do respect Jean-Claude, he does a lot of the splits constantly.
A football party.
He does a lot of splits, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like, he finds a way to kick your ass while doing the splits, which I think is impressive. Jean-Claude. Anyway, next man up.
One of the same martial arts I did as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he actually is a martial artist. He's not like Steven Seagal.
He's
an actual martial artist.
Wait, you're just taking shots at Steven Seagal now? What's wrong with Steven Seagal?
Absolutely. It's like the Netherlands versus America now.
I like Steven Seagal. Okay, let's move on.
He's a nice guy. That's what I hear anyway.
He's a tough guy in those movies. You wouldn't want to mess with Steven Seagal. Okay, all right. So Debo's out. Fred Warner's
they were second to none.
I want to talk about Talanoa Hufanga mostly because his videos do so well on YouTube. Super duper well. People like Talanoa.
He's a likable guy. He's a media sensation.
And so last week, he was playing a lot. They were doing a lot of dime defense just to get him on the field. And that means he's playing linebacker essentially. On third down, it was him and Warner at linebacker a lot. And now Warner's out. And I think we're going to see even more of Hufanga at linebacker.
Especially with Marcel Harris injured, because there goes a rotational piece for the same job.
Yep. So you got Demetrius Flanagan-Foles, who was also a safety in college.
And he is solid. I think we could be in worse situations right now. Not to underestimate the value of Fred Warner's physical presence as far as him being on the field, but mentally he will still be there. I guarantee you, like Deebo Samuel, he'll have a sideline presence. But I think in this game, Aziz Al-Shair and his compatriots, I think they will be just fine.
I do. I just interested to see how Talanoa Funga gets inserted
He
more.
needs
Like
to feast in this game. He needs
the
to
Niners
feast
aren't
in this
they're
game.
not like committed to Demetrius Flanagan Foles. He's just a special teams guy and a backup. But Hufanga seems to be like someone they really like, someone they want to be a starter. They keep pushing him in. I mean, they seem a lot more gung ho with him than with Trey Lance, but that's neither here nor there. I'm curious to see if this is a better spot for him. I'm kind of skeptical that he's a starting safety in the NFL, but as a linebacker, I don't know. Could be interesting.
Well, the one concern I have is if Kirk Cousins was good at game managing against the 49ers to an extent before he lined up in the wrong place. But one of the things Kirk Cousins did that exposes one of the weaknesses of Hufanga is that he's trying to become a big boy in the NFL. And he was trying to cue the eyes, and that's what they teach you as a safety. Watch the eyes of the quarterback. But Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and all the greats, they will literally freeze you and they'll DQ. So you got on the second Adam Thielen touchdown, you got Kirk Cousins looking to the left, and he's got a clean pocket at the time, and he's looking off Hufanga, and Hufanga bites on that because he thinks he's reading the eyes. And at the last second, you can see the horns on that helmet. They turn just a little bit, and he immediately fires the ball, and Hufanga's out of position because he was reading just the quarterback rather than being aware of his surroundings. If you think Kirk Cousins is good at that, I think that Russell Wilson, his hand issues aside, I think he's better at that. And if Russell Wilson watches this tape, which you know he does, this is something that Hufanga, he's going to have to be very careful of the mobility, the trickery, and the ability to look off defenders that Russell Wilson has, because he's a master at that.
That's right. So he's intriguing. He's an exciting rookie, and the Niners really like him, but he's going to be a key part of this game. And if he plays a lot, he's going to be tested. It'll be interesting to see how he holds up at a new position.
If he plays a lot and he does well, we get a lot of answers, but he could easily be a hole. And I like Hufanga. I think everyone knows that. But he could easily be a hole in this game if he's not careful. He will have to play very smart football. And the thing with the Seahawks, if they're down, and they're playing horrible football lately, but even still, they're playing San Francisco at home, they're going to bring just a little bit more. They will. This is not a game to overlook. It's a must win for the Niners. And it's also a should win. But this has trap written all over it if they're not careful.
Niner fans, you know how you feel when you go into the week against the Rams. You feel confident, right? That's pretty much how the Seahawks should feel right now. Doesn't matter what their record is or what the Niners' record is. It's exactly. The Niners and the Seahawks. It's in Seattle.
As a 49ers fan, I've always been concerned with the Seahawks games. They are the ones that I know, even back before this rivalry was really reignited in the Frank Gore days. They were... Look at their all-time record. I don't remember what it is offhand, but they've always been a little bit of a thorn in our side, I feel.
How many times has Russell Wilson lost to the 49ers? How many times? 3? Maybe 3 times.
I'm sorry, say that again?
How many times has Russell Wilson lost to the 49ers?
Exactly.
Maybe 3
That's
times.
just in his era. And he's the most dominant factor we have ever faced.
Right.
But yeah, they're a tough team for us. They really are.
They are.
I think they are inspired being up there in Washington State, playing San Francisco, the storied franchise. It's a pride match for them.
Yeah, and they seem to have a good beat on Jimmy Garoppolo, too, at least the last couple of games. We'll talk about that in a minute. Rob says, hi, Grand Sibla. Do you think that Brandon Ayuk can replace Debo's running plays while he's out?
No. And the reason for that is Brandon Ayuk is tough. He's physical. He's a great route runner. He has good hands. Debo Samuel picks lanes. Yeah. Unlike any running back I think we've had on the 49ers in a long time. And he's not actually breaking contact as much as I said last week. He takes angles to avoid it altogether. Yeah, he can run you over if he needs to, but Debo he's got a ability to hit the hole and hit the lane and take off that Ayuk does not have.
Debo running the ball to me looks like almost exactly like Raheem Mostert, except with an extra 15 pounds of muscle.
Absolutely. And perhaps even a little bit more durability as well.
Well,
now one of
we'll see about that.
Things that I love Mostert. We all know that.
I mean, Debo's got his injury issues too. That's all I'm saying.
He does. And I think some of it is Mostert just address things the way he's supposed to finally. I think that he's in a better place. I think he will come back. One of the issues I have with Debo being run, by the way, is I don't think they need to actually run the ball with him as much as get him the ball behind the line of scrimmage. I don't think him pounding against the front 4 or 5 defenders every single time and risking that contact is necessary. Screens, shovel passes. I mean, there are so many play action. There's so many ways of getting him the ball within 5 yards. And to me, it's just about feeding him the ball. not necessarily about turning him into a running back. And Kyle Shanahan, when he made the joke, I turned you into a running back. He said to him, I already did. What like he actually has. I mean, there are going to be games where the running backs have more receptions than him.
Right.
And that does not need to happen.
No.
That I don't like.
No.
And that's why we're sitting here talking about his replacement.
It's a good call. Like you could line him up at running back and then throw him a screen like you would to use check, or I mean, there's so many things you can do with him that you haven't done yet.
Exactly.
One more.
Just because it's working, and it's Deebo Samuel, he's like 3 yards. And I think Kyle Shanahan, he just likes to press the button over and over and over when it comes to him. And he's going to have to select a different function.
Anthony Adams says over under 1 turnover or less for Jimbo. Also, why don't we use 4 or 5 wide receiver sets anymore? Do you expect Kyle to switch up his pass game looks finally versus Wiles? There's some inside football questions. Let's start with the first one. Do you think Jimmy Garoppolo will turn the ball over against Seattle
as a result of a high pass? Absolutely.
I think he will too. I think he.
I think Jimmy Garoppolo, the best way to intercept him is to drop a safety underneath and have him play zone coverage and literally just stand in between 2 different routes. And Jimmy will not see. He never sees him underneath. So that's what Smith did to him. That was not his.
But you got to make sure your corners don't give up the freaking slant. Take away the in-breaking route. It's not going to the outside. Take away this. I'm sorry. I don't root against the Niners, but like it's like. Yeah, cover one's good. Don't give up the freaking slant. What? That's what they did on the Sherfield one on that last. Anyway, nice catch though.
Yeah, it was a great catch. So the second 4 or 5 wide receiver set, I wouldn't have a lot of confidence with this 49ers offense doing that simply because of our pass protection. Jimmy Garoppolo's lack of mobility. I think he needs the extra help in the backfield. Kittle absolutely has to line up in a place where he can at least chip on the way out. I honestly feel that Kittle should be chipping more than he does. We've talked about that before, that he needs to get some contact before he runs his route. Shanahan needs to put that on George. So having 4 or 5 wide receivers, maybe if we had one more good offensive guard, a stronger right tackle, then perhaps yes.
Depth at wide receiver isn't really that great. I mean, I'd rather them throw more passes to like Dwelly and Mitchell and Juszczyk, honestly.
Because even if Samuel's healthy, you would have Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, maybe Trent Sherfield, Jawan Jennings, and which 5th one would you choose?
I wouldn't choose.
Finally, it would be like Benjamin or something.
Do you expect Kyle to switch up the pass game looks finally versus Seattle? Is that the problem? It looks like Seattle has the book on that pass game because it's really struggled for the last 2-3 games.
I don't foresee Kyle Shanahan tweaking too much of what he's done.
I agree.
I foresee him relying on the run, and I think he will stick to that. And as long as that works, I think we get out of this game. But if this becomes a passing game where we're trying out new things with Jimmy Garoppolo, then Russell Wilson would take control of the game and it will become Wilson against Garoppolo, and we know how that will turn out. So no, I don't. This is not the game to try a wrinkle per se. We have to stick to what we did against the Vikings. They know it's coming, and we need to feed it to them.
Okay, back to the matchup. So the Niners aren't going to have Deebo. But they will have something they didn't have the first time they played the Seahawks this year, Elijah Mitchell. This guy is a big addition to this team. He's unlike any running back they've had in the Shanahan era in the sense of he can really carry the ball a whole lot of times, and they trust him to. He's like Eddie George or something, except he's really small. So this is a new wrinkle. It's a new element in the equation, and the Seahawks haven't faced him. How do you think Mitchell will affect this matchup?
Mitchell is the safety blanket that the 49ers did not have last time. Absolutely. He's a ground and pound kind of attacker. He gives them the ability to slow the clock down, and he gets a good chunk of change pretty much every time he handles the ball. I love his ball control. He definitely seems like a very responsible, hardworking running back. So that I'm really keyed up for him on that. I hope this is a trend. I hope it continues. I don't think the Seahawks are the team that can particularly expose him or something. I don't think this is a team that's going to knock the ball loose with him or slow him down. I don't think they have the edge set against this kind of a guy. I think as long as they stick with it, we could go 3 and out the first drive. That is no reason to take the ball from Mitchell. If he runs 3 times and can't get it, do it again. He absolutely does impact this matchup because the whole offensive game plan right now is Mitchell. Because we don't have Deebo Samuel, it's Mitchell plus those other guys. And that's Mitchell with his 4-yard rush on first down and
Right.
his 3 or 4 yard rush on second down, he's the reason Jawan Jennings becomes a little bit more important. This opens it up for Juszczyk. It opens it up for George Kittle. As long as they stick with him primarily, the pass game will open up itself.
I feel like Pete Carroll has done a good job usually against the 49ers with Shanahan, like making them one-dimensional, taking away the run game. And that's a good start against the 49ers. And I think it's going to be hard to do that with Elijah Mitchell on the field. I think he's the real deal. And even if he's only averaging 4 yards a carry, like he's relentless and he keeps coming. I'd like to see them use him in different ways, though. Now that Debo's out, I'd like to see them throw screens to Mitchell because
I would love to see him get the ball downfield.
Yeah, like he's not going to pull away from defenses, but he can get you 30, 40-yard gains. He did it against the Bears. He had those long gains around the left side. He is probably one of the more explosive players in the Niners offense right now. And I think how they use him in this game will be important. They can't just run him between the tackles all the time. Give him some chances to make big plays because I don't know where the big plays are going to come for the 49ers in this game. Mitchell is a candidate.
George Kittle is a matchup to keep our eye on. Bobby Wagner is the best in the game. Hands down. I don't care what anyone says. Bobby Wagner is if he doesn't have the athletic ability as much anymore, he has the intellect. He has the football acumen. That matchup versus George Kittle is very intriguing to me because I did see Bobby Wagner. He did not have his best game against the Washington football team. He had made some brilliant plays, but it was number 56, I think, who had the better game. Bobby Wagner did lose his matchup against the tight end. They have a good tight end, the Washington football team. He's a good pass-catching tight end. George Kittle, I think, is an all-around, by far superior tight end. But I really look forward to seeing what he can do against these linebackers. Kyle Juszczyk is the other person. Brandon Ayuk, I think, so if they can't shut Mitchell down, I feel like the Seahawks will focus on removing Ayuk from the equation. Because with no Deebo Samuel, they know he's our first wide receiver now. So I think that their one-dimensional attack may actually come in trying to remove the pass game from Garoppolo and flooding his field of vision. You know that Bobby Wagner and Pete Carroll will flood the box. So this is what Jimmy Garoppolo will see because he does react to that in a negative way, I feel.
Well, let's focus on George Kittle because it seems that, there's Elijah Mitchell and they do give him a lot of touches, but someone's going to have to step up down the field for this team. And, there's Ayuk and he's been hot recently, but Kittle's like a captain. Kittle's the highest paid player. I mean, he's the highest paid tight end in the league. He's supposed to produce. And I don't really know what's going on with him, but this year he's like his lowest yards per reception since his rookie year, his lowest receptions per game since his rookie year, his lowest yards per game since his rookie year. He's just been kind of an afterthought, and maybe they're like, he's been hurt, he's a little older. Let's just get him to the playoffs and then unleash him. You got to use him this week. And if you keep him in the garage, you just might lose a game you should win. So I'd like to see George Kittle kind of come to life and be the George Kittle we remember.
If Bobby Wagner feels that George Kittle is being taken out of the game by Kyle Shanahan, it allows him to focus on other things, and we don't want that.
Remember Kittle from 2018? He used to be able to catch a pass and just run through the defense for a touchdown. I can't remember the last time he did that. That's Debo now.
Still can. They're just not giving him the options. I feel like the run game and Deebo Samuel, and it's become a Samuel-centric offense lately. I know that George Kittle hasn't had the greatest season. He is showing up in other ways. He's still the blocker.
He's still a great blocker.
He's still the responsible tight end. I don't feel they are feeding him the ball because I feel like they're force feeding the ball other ways, and like Deebo Samuel and I just feel like it's up to Shanahan to use Kittle. I don't see anything from Kittle. Do you? It doesn't seem to me like he's not running his routes well. Seems to me like he is. Seems to me like sometimes he's open. It just seems like he's not really the primary target. And some of his receptions, they seem to come to him when he's wide open. It's like they don't want to throw to him when it's contested. Do you see this as well? Or why do you think they're not throwing it to him?
I don't know. Hard to say. I just don't know. But to me, it looks like he's not as fast as he used to be. Still a great blocker, but he just doesn't look as fast and as explosive as he used to be. I don't know. I mean, he's still getting some catches, but like when he catches a pass in the flat, I'm not really thinking he's going to go for a big game. Whereas anytime Deebo gets the ball, I'm like that. Kittle, I'm like, he might miss. He might break one tackle. Nothing against him, but he just doesn't seem the same really since 2019. I don't know what it is.
There are a lot of good players
go crazy in this game.
Who nurse like nagging injuries, who don't talk about it. It's very possible that this offseason he might need some attention.
He's got a calf thing. Maybe it's still affecting him. And You never know.
As
But
far as pivoting and explosion, you need your calf muscles.
let's talk defense. The Niners should win this game again, but the one thing that is kind of concerning is that no Debo, that's the Niners' explosive element. Seahawks still have DK Metcalf, and he is one of the more explosive players in the league. He's the kind of guy who can, catch a pass, run through your defense, score from 75 yards out. It's nice to have a player like that. It really makes the game easy. And the Niners have had that all season. Now they don't. The Seahawks still do. And the thing about him is he didn't really get the ball much last week. And it's a whole talking point in Seattle.
Yes,
Where the hell is DK? So I think it's probably going to be featured in their game plan. And what do the Niners have to do to make sure he doesn't ruin this game for them?
Well, Russell Wilson, after the game, he said we have to get the ball to DK more. They know it, we know it, and it's going to happen. I feel like for Pete Carroll, he has to do it. It's a media thing at this point. It's a fan thing at this point. But it's also a no-brainer. If DK gets the ball, he's violent. He's hard to bring down.
Yeah,
and
just like Debo.
Basically, we've got no one in the secondary who can man up against him. Plain and simple. He gets one-on-one with them, he will run them over. Hufanga is the only guy I feel who can match his physicality, but he can't match his speed. And I just don't. That's a mismatch if he has to go against him. Jimmy Ward has man coverage abilities. I feel like this is going to be Ward against Metcalf. That's what this will come down to. And Ward's got the attitude and he's got some man coverage abilities that he brings something back there. This is the finesse part that we were talking about, Jimmy Ward. When it comes to the physical part, forget about it. DK Metcalf will run him over and not even notice he's there. But when it comes to the finesse part, Jimmy Ward brings intelligence. He brings good zone coverage. He brings good man coverage. So I feel like Jimmy Ward has to know where DK is at all times. Until it just seems like Kittle, he's just eliminated somehow, as you say, in the garage from the game. Jimmy Ward will have his eye on there. I trust Jimmy Ward in this. I do. I feel like the Seahawks, they have Tyler Lockett. We can't forget him. He had some receptions.
He's getting the ball more than DK.
Yeah. And the thing, I will have to be blunt. I mean, I'm racking my brains for what do you do? And the only person that can do anything is Jimmy Ward, because our corners, Emmanuel Mosley is the only option to go up against him. But then what if you have Tyler Lockett against Josh Norman? I actually prefer the Norman. If I'm the Seahawks, if I'm their offensive coordinator, my favorite matchup would be Lockett against Norman.
Okay. Yeah.
That's where I would go. And I'd let DK Metcalf be the eye candy. I would get him the ball a couple of times, let him soften up the secondary. But Tyler Lockett, to me, is also an X factor here. But I think
that's a great point. And he
I just don't think the Niners have an answer besides Jimmy Ward will have to be responsible, and he will be cleaning up some issues back there. And I think the defense, I think DeMeco Ryans needs to understand Josh Norman against DK Metcalf is free. It's 3 yards. It's a pass interference or it's a reception. So we don't have the secondary against Lockett and Metcalf. That's worrisome. That's what the Seahawks have over us in this game.
I think Emmanuel Mosley can cover DK Metcalf. I think Emmanuel Mosley's pretty good. The problem with DK is no one can tackle him. So if he gets catches the ball on a slant, he gets moving, he breaks tackles. So I think tackling DK is going to be a big deal, just like it is tackling Debo.
We can't let him
Jimmy Ward, Jaquaski Tart. You guys need to tackle this guy in the open field, because when he killed him last year in Seattle, when Jimmy Garoppolo started that game and got hurt and left, he was just running through the defense like a freight train, the way Kittle used to do. So they have to tackle him, get him low, get his legs. He'll bounce off. If you go high, he'll bounce off of him. You'll get hurt.
Mosley, I will say, he has been jumping off the screen a little bit lately for me as far as his willingness to tackle. He flew around all over the place in that Vikings game. So I do appreciate the motor that Mosley brings. And his coverage abilities are sound. They're good enough. Yeah. But tackling, that's an issue.
DK isn't a great route runner. He's just a freakish combination of size, speed, power, and momentum.
Yeah,
so, you can cover him. It's just rough.
Owens with
he's a lot like T.O.
But his route running is kind of, I do my own thing for the most part. He's like, all right, I'm supposed to post somewhere around there and then go that direction. Just get me the ball. Definitely, he's not.
Once he gets some momentum, he's tough. It's tough.
And I'll be honest with you, I've seen a lot of receivers not be. I mean, one of the reasons Anquan Bolden could be so slow but be so good is because he worked on his route running. We'll see how long DK Metcalf lasts without.
And he was hard to bring down. He was hard to bring down. Briz KO says the NFL status quo is the status quo. Russ will pop off again. Got to score 30 plus again. Shandy needs to utilize Kittle, give him 10 plus targets. Yeah, 10 plus targets for Kittle, man. Like enough of this 3-4 targets nonsense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, I agree with that. As far as scoring,
he's had 6 targets the last 2 games. Sibla, sorry, 6. George.
Yeah, it's inexplicable. I that's why I was asking. I mean, is there something nagging Kittle? Do they know something we don't? Because he's an I don't see that he's not still an ultimate weapon. I just don't see that he's bad. I think he's still George Kittle.
Yeah. Best way to win is if Jimmy Garoppolo throws a pick in the first quarter, Kyle switches to run ASAP. Hilarious. Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, this will be as simple as just keeping Jimmy on the reins. He just has to be kept within his confines. Short passes. Jimmy Garoppolo actually is throwing a little bit better over the middle when he doesn't throw high. He's starting to get the ball out in front of his receivers a little bit more. So they're not taking the hits that they used to. The last 3 games, that's the only thing I watch. When I watch Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm like, where is he putting the ball in the diamond? Is he putting it anywhere from shoulder to shoulder and not behind them? He's been doing that better.
Julio says, not trying to sound negative, but the Niners are not winning this game. Our secondary will be burned and our offense will be limited with just Kittle.
I mean, Julio's fears are well-founded. I mean, Josh Norman, if there was a way we could just get him to punch the ball out and not cover anyone, it would be great. Like the 12th man on the field, maybe. But we don't have we have a secondary that's very easily exposed. And K'Wan Williams is getting to the ball early over and over and over. At this point, Lenoir needs to play. It's over with K1.
Did the Niners defense shut down Jefferson and Thielen, or did the Niners offense hold the ball for almost 38 minutes? And did Cousins miss a bunch of open throws? It's tough to say. Now,
I think he answered his own question. Holding on to the ball, keeping them on the sideline. Yeah, that's how you won.
Let's talk about Russell Wilson, because look, I haven't watched a ton of Seahawks this year, but I watched them Monday night against Washington, fully expecting them to win. And watching Russell Wilson was like, what happened to you? He looks like a totally different person. One thing I noticed is he was really inaccurate. He was missing throws by wide margins. I've never seen him do that. There's got to be something up with his finger that he messed up, right?
Yeah, so where he grips the ball, where he normally has that beautiful spin on the laces, the speed of the spin is not there. It just doesn't seem like he's gripping the ball and torquing it the same way he normally does. So when he goes to pass it, it's just coming out. It seems like it's coming out early or something like that. Like he's not able to maintain his control through the pass because he's going high and he's throwing deep. Like he's ahead and high on his receivers. It's not Russell Wilson at all. He looks miserable. I mean, it was terrible. I turned that game off literally after halftime. I'm like, I'm not staying up for this.
I also feel that the issue with the offense is, I mean, obviously injuries, right? Like no running backs, no offensive linemen, but also this offensive coordinator that they got from the Rams, Shane Waldron, who had never called a play before. Damn, he sucks. Awful.
He really
can't
does.
Get the ball to DK Metcalf. Can't really do anything. There's nothing that offense does well. And you have a Hall of Fame quarterback who's younger than me. You freaking suck, Shane Waldron. Sorry.
I would agree. And this I never like to throw dirt at the other teams or anything like that, but you bring this up. I can literally say there are tons of fans in the faithful that could call a better game because everybody knows who DK Metcalf is, and they would just be like, well, throw him the ball, throw him the ball. It's like having Deebo Samuel and not giving him the ball.
How do you not call his number like every 4 or 5 plays?
Imagine
you don't
the rate that the faithful would have if Deebo was out there and got 3 or 4 targets and no handoffs.
God. Yeah, I don't understand. It must be going soft up in Seattle. Let that slide. Anyway,
Sherman said it, and like Sherman's one of my favorite players. I know he's very controversial the way he talks to people and things like that. Kind of wish he wouldn't do that, but one of the things he said, he threw some shade after he left Seattle, and he said that the stories and the antics of Pete Carroll wear off. He tells the same story 250 times, and when you're new, he seems charming. He seems like a great leader, but you just realize he doesn't have a big bag of tricks. That's what Sherman said. Earl Thomas was quiet, but Earl Thomas did nothing to dispel that. And it just seems like Russell Wilson's dysfunction in this offseason comes from ownership and the coaches. So I just feel like Pete Carroll does not have a handle on these Seahawks the way he has in the past. And for instance, if you're Pete Carroll, how can you let your offensive coordinator not call plays to DK Metcalf?
I don't know.
I understand good leadership is letting your people work, but not if they keep failing.
Yeah, I don't get it. Now it's possible that Russell Wilson's finger will feel magically better this week and he'll play better because I don't think he forgot how to play football. I don't think he's sandbagging it in Seattle. I think his finger's messed up and he
Absolutely. No,
rushed back
Russell
to try to
Wilson's
save the
still going to
season.
be a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's nothing wrong with his abilities. There's something physically in his way.
I'm just not used to seeing him lose. I mean, I think has he ever won fewer than 10 games? He might have had 9-7 season once.
Yeah, he did.
One time.
He did. He
Once.
had where they did not make the playoffs, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very strange. Purple Baby Skunk says maybe make Kittle like Debo and put him at running back. He already said he didn't want to do that. He's not low enough to the ground. I don't want to
see Kittle take contact from 260-plus pound men. George Kittle is a mismatch for anyone his size and smaller. That's where he can bully people. So I don't want to see him against linemen. Against some linebackers, not Bobby Wagner. Yes, and certainly against safeties.
All right, next topic is Jimmy Garoppolo's last two starts against Seattle. I'm trying to get – hold on. Let me get the numbers real quick. He's played them his last two starts against Seattle have been no good. Let me get him. Hold on. Am I tripping? Where is it? Sorry, this is live television, everyone. Damn.
That's why we have an editing crew eventually. I know I was...
Okay, here we go. Go. Yeah, this is how we edit. Okay.
So I was about to clean it up for you, but go ahead.
So Jimmy Garoppolo's last two starts, we're talking 2020 and 2021, in Seattle 2020, in Levi's 2021, 25 of 39, 249 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 2 injuries that made him leave the game, 69.3 passer rating. Not good. Not good at all. Is it fluky? Did he just get hurt? Or is there something that Pete Carroll has identified in Jimmy? Tell me.
I don't think it's a fluke that he got injured. And with all due respect to Jimmy Garoppolo, he's not the most durable quarterback. Everyone knows that. So I don't think it's a fluke that was a factor. As far as what Pete Carroll does, I feel like Pete Carroll just knows how to create confusion. He may not have all the pieces that he used to have in the Legion of Boom. He may not have running backs in an offensive line, but he does at least know how to get involved as a defensive mind. Like, he's really good at thinking up of ways of causing confusion. But the thing is, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's not that hard to confuse. He's immobile. No. He can't throw deep. He's not good on the outside. He's not good over the middle. He's really only good at around 5 to 10 to 15 yards at the most. 15 yards, it sounds like a joke, but that's a deep pass for him. 15 yards down the field is a deep pass for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Really where he thrives is behind the line of scrimmage, which I could probably hit those passes. And then anywhere 5 to 10 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. That's where he kind of thrives. So I feel like Pete Carroll's just taking that dimension away from him. And I feel like he creates confusion, like the looks that he gives him, the disguised coverages, the way people drop back into coverage, the way people show pressure at the line of scrimmage. Pete Carroll, I don't think he's doing anything special. I just think he is flooding the field of vision for Jimmy Garoppolo, which is the key to success against him, is just that mental pressure. You don't even have to put your hands on Jimmy Garoppolo. It's the mental pressure. Look in the Vikings game. He sacked himself twice. He tripped and fell, and he ran into the lineman on the other one. This guy can't move. It's like turning a refrigerator in the backfield. He's not going to go anywhere.
I have a bad feeling about Jimmy Garoppolo in this game. I got a bad feeling about Jimmy Garoppolo in this game. He hasn't made it through the Seahawks game the last 2 times he's faced him. I think they have his number, and I think they do a good job of basically shutting down the run game and making him beat him, and he can't win that way. He really needs the running backs to go off. So to me,
that's the key.
I really think this game is we're either gonna see Jimmy. There's a possibility that Jimmy Garoppolo could really stink, and that they would either need to play Trey Lance or they won't play Trey Lance and they'll lose. I'm not saying they're going to lose to the Seahawks, but it's definitely conceivable that Jimmy can have a stinker. I really think Trey Lance gives him a better chance to win in this game. I don't know why they never gave Trey Lance an opportunity to hand off like Jimmy does. But if you put Trey Lance in an offense where he handed off twice as much as he threw, and it was like a 40-20 split, I mean, at least Seattle would have to worry about defending the ball down the field. It would open up running lanes for everyone else.
I've got something on that.
Defense is so constricted around Jimmy right now.
Yeah, I've got something on that. The run game. Back to what you said. I was watching the game with my father, and he turns around to me and he says, Nobody believes it. And I said, you mean when Jimmy Garoppolo fakes the handoff but actually hands it off? Watch I challenge all of you, watch the defenders. When Jimmy Garoppolo, he does everything by the book. That's one thing I like about him. When he hands the ball off, he's very disciplined. He tries, Jimmy Garoppolo. So when he hands the ball off, he still does his fake throw, and things like that. Yeah. When he hands the ball, he takes off. I have never in my life seen a defender bite on that. They never do. He never creates confusion. When he turns around, that ball is gone. That's if he sticks it out there, that ball is gone. And so when he goes and he runs the other way, no defenders follow him. In the Vikings game, not a single one followed him. Did you notice that?
I did notice that, yes.
They didn't even miss a step. There wasn't even a momentary hesitation. That's how you fake out your linemen or your linebackers or your safeties that are blitzing. When you go to fake in an RPO or it's a handoff and you're trying to freeze one of the defenders, you'll watch. All that has to happen is this. That shoulder, that outside shoulder, that's all that has. If that moves, they've lost their step. And so if you don't have the ball, that running back is gone. Not a single. They didn't do it. When Jimmy Garoppolo hands it off, they just bolt right past him. If Trey Lance was in there and he buys us that little bit of freeze time, that little bit of indecision, and perhaps he even keeps the ball, this is a whole new look for the run game. And I'm not saying give the reins to Trey Lance. I'm saying mix him into the plays. We have nothing to lose by that. And even if Trey Lance never runs, his very presence out there, it's obvious he's going to run. So that's another one-dimensional thing with Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's, again, if they take away the run game, then here's the matchup. It's Jimmy Garoppolo and Brandon Ayuk and Jawan Jennings versus Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. So who would you pick if it's those 3-on-3?
I don't know. Who would you pick?
Russell Wilson. That was rhetoric.
All right, let me give you some stats. I've been looking up some stats. So Jimmy it's not just the last two for Jimmy. He's started against the Seahawks 5 times. He's 1-4 against the Seahawks lifetime. He has thrown for 800 yards in 5 starts. 800 yards in 5 starts. 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, passer rating of 83. That's not good. That is not good. And real quick, this is just a half. But Trey Lance played the second half against the Seahawks. That was week 4. And his numbers were 9 of 18 for 157 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 117 quarterback rating. I'm just saying. He's a totally different style of quarterback. The Seahawks are dialed into Jimmy's style.
They don't
play both of them, man. Play both of them.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
117.
Did you hear what Shanahan's response was to the press when they asked him about mixing in Trey Lance? He basically bald-faced said, well, we didn't really know what we were getting or how to integrate it. And I was like, wait a minute, you just told the press that you got him and you just didn't really know how to use him?
Yeah.
But you're the head coach.
We could do a 2-quarterback system, but then it didn't work.
Right, but it was the way he said it, like, we got this and we didn't realize how it would work and we don't really know how to make it work. And, we're just trying to get some continuity going and everything. Continuity, okay,
I don't buy it.
That's fine.
I don't buy it.
But the rest
Kyle always says something with some truth, but that's not the main reason. The reason they're not playing Trey Lance anymore is because they're trying to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. There are 10
quarterback teams, I would say, on average, that would need a quarterback next year. And I was actually thinking, what about a trade back to Miami with him?
Tua's playing well. No.
You really think so?
Uh-huh. He's winning, and he's cheap. I don't understand the team that's going to want to spend it.
Their coaching staff is very weird, though. I will say that. They have a strange coaching staff. I don't like how they manage to be honest with you.
Well, we'll see what happens with Jimmy. Let's come back to this game. Let's make a prediction. Who do you think's going to win and why? Give me a score.
Well, I have to go with San Francisco because on paper and theoretically, they should win. I think they will win because I think Elijah Mitchell will give us control. He will give us control of the clock. And keeping Russell Wilson on the sideline does not allow Russell to cook. That's the big thing, is no rhythm for him. That's what a good ground game gives us. So I feel like we will win this game. I do not foresee that the 49ers blow them out. I think this is a game that I hope Robbie Gould is here today because I think he will be necessary. I think he's got to score for us, and I think he will have to kick a couple of 40-plus yard field goals. So I think my final score here would be 23-17
Interesting.
in favor of San Francisco, of course.
23-17. That sounds about right. It seems to me like if either team's going to get to 30, it's going to be because of turnovers from the other team. Like these are two without Debo. These are kind of two. I don't know what to expect from these offenses. The Niners should be able to like string together long drives, but will they score? How many long drives will they have? I don't know. I'm thinking a low scoring game, maybe even lower than you. I'm thinking 20-17 Niners, 2017.
That's fair. The thing is, as much as it hurts to have Deebo Samuel out, I really do think with Kyle Juszczyk and George Kittle, we have enough weapons to put Ayuk open. And we here's the thing. That's the scores we've picked. But the 49ers against this defense, if they manage their own offense well, they should be able to hang 34 points on the Seahawks. I just don't think they will.
No. I'm sorry. Jimmy Garoppolo not throwing the ball down the field. He needs Debo.
No. It's not Jimmy Garoppolo that would do it. It would be Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle, and Mitchell.
Yeah. Because there's no explosive element to Jimmy's game. You need it from other players.
The 49ers forcing a turnover. I do.
Hey.
I think they do, and here's why. I think it's a high throw by Russell Wilson that gets picked. My pick for the pick is Azeez Al-Shaair, and the reason for that is throwing over the middle on a slant where he goes high. Or he overcompensates by holding onto the ball too long and it goes low. I think it's somebody in the short range field. It's not going to be our corners unless it's Emmanuel Mosley. I feel like they will have some plays on Russell Wilson passes. And here's the thing, Jimmy Ward, if you're watching this show, please feed off of the high throws because you are going to see a version of Russell Wilson you've never seen before. So your instinct has got to include the fact that he's throwing high. I think you know that because you're a smart guy.
Right.
This is something
and you see a quarterback throw high every day in practice. Both of your quarterbacks miss high. Jimmy, Trey, you've seen this. You should be
just keep the Jimmy Ward is good at this. Keep the receivers in front of you. Give them the short completions, but keep them in front of you. Don't because the thing is Russell Wilson still got some bomb plays and he still can, and that's the issue with Russell Wilson. And that's against Josh Norman. That is really going to come into play. I think that's how they're going to score.
A horrible game. He led him all the way down the field. And just messed up on the 2-point conversion. So,
yes.
All right.
Maybe Norman punches the ball out again.
Maybe. Anthony says, Jimbo, 2019 Monday Night Football versus Seattle was awful. Pete owns him. Kind of.
Well, the record can't argue with Anthony. That's for certain.
Look, I've watched Pete Carroll coach from afar for a long time, and it seems to me that at least with Niner quarterbacks, once he gets a feel for him, he's rough on him. I mean, he was rough on Alex Smith. He was rough on Colin Kaepernick. I think
he was. Yes, he was.
He's good. He's good, man. He's good.
I honestly don't think Pete Carroll should be fired. I think they need a whole new staff around him. I really do.
Like, think about what Robert Saleh would do to Jimmy Garoppolo. Do you understand how Robert Saleh would know intimately all of his weaknesses and play at him and exploit him? I mean, Carroll's the same way.
How many interceptions? It was like the high in practice. How many did he throw in that practice?
Oh, 5 in a row on 5 consecutive throws. That really happened. Wolf Life Wild says Mitchell's like a perfect balance of Moster's burst with Frank Gore falling forward.
I like that comment.
He stopped. I like that.
My father said that he looks like Frank Gore, but meaner.
Oh,
I think so. Frank Gore, he knows how to get down. He's a really smart player. He's one of the smartest running backs I've ever seen. I think he is the smartest running back I've ever seen. But
the
Mitchell
best feel for playing the position I've ever seen. Yeah, he was really good.
Yes, and a feel and an acumen. I mean, the guy could have played football or he could have been an astronaut. That's Frank Gore. Mitchell, on the other hand, brings something that I don't think Frank Gore brings all the time, and that is viciousness. Just ask Trent Williams. Trent Williams himself, he said 2 times I've been trucked in my whole life. One was by the great Adrian Peterson, who he's good friends with. And he goes, and it wasn't as bad, but Elijah Mitchell, I turned around and said, who the hell was that? I looked down, it's this little Elijah Mitchell, basically. And that's something that, and according to Trent Williams, listen to the sound effects of what it's like to tackle Mitchell. It's violent. And if you are sub 250 pounds, you want nothing to do with hitting him.
Yeah, Gore was actually, the way I remember him was he kind of made himself smaller than he was. He was a 215-pound running back who could kind of get small and get through really small holes and squirt out. And it's like, how did he do that? But Mitchell is just pounding people.
Yeah, with that high elbow thing he did to protect the ball, I missed that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's our show for today. Thank you very much,
there.
Sibila.
I like the Breezy's last comment there. More
good.
elusive, less violent. I agree with that.
I like it very much. All right. Well, thank you for watching. Thank you for doing this with me, Sibila. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. I love being here with the faithful and with you.
Same. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll be back in an hour and a half with Jesse, 49ers After Dark. Now that it's good. Regular time and not daylight savings, darkness is upon us. So 6 o'clock.
Absolutely.